everybody, I am just driving home from labor and delivery, actually. It is a long story, but suffice it to say, the past 4 days I've had like remarkably reduced fetal movements. His patterns, the strength of his kicks, how often he kicks. I have a very active, predictable baby, and over the past 4 days, his response to, like, for instance, he usually goes crazy every time I eat. He goes crazy every evening. He goes crazy if I hunch over onto him or I can press him in any way. And that has gotten less and less and less over the past 4 days. And it got to the point where I got really concerned. So I called labor and delivery and, just long story short, decided to go in just to get checked. They tried to find his heartbeat with one of those like stethoscope type things and couldn't find it. Didn't worry me though, because I listened to him on my Doppler earlier that morning. And I knew he was alive. I also, I am feeling him, but just very seldom and very lightly. Not his typical self. But then they put the actual, monitor on me and picked up his heart rate right away. His heart rate ranged from 131 to 152, and apparently that was a sign of good health, that it was fluctuating that much. I don't know anything about this. I'm just regurgitating what she told me. Also, you could hear him moving on the Doppler. I just couldn't feel it. And then she did this thing where she rolled me over on my back and she just lightly pressed on my belly and just stayed there for a few minutes. And then he started kicking her decently hard. And she's like, I always find that in situations like this, if you just invade their personal space a little bit, they'll tend to push you away if they're healthy and everything is fine, and because it annoys them and they want you off of them, whatever. She said it was good enough for her, that she felt fine, that everything was okay, and I was like, well, then at what point do you start to worry about reduced fetal movements? Because it's not that he's not moving at all, but they're very remarkably reduced. And she just basically told me they have a lot of room to move right now, which means that you could feel a lot of movement sometimes, but it could also mean that you don't feel all of their movements because they're just not making contact. So I'm going to continue to monitor it, but she told me not to worry about it, so I'm holding on to that for now. I have my Doppler at home, so I can keep an eye on him in that respect as well. But anyway, another thing that kind of compounded my decision to go in, and it made me feel partly guilty, but it partly motivated me to go in, is that, drum roll, we have COVID again. Third time we've had COVID. Yep. March of 2020, February of 2021, and now January of 2022. But as you can see, I have hardly any symptoms at all. So either it's Omicron for the win, because it's light or mild or whatever, or vaccines for the win, because I got my second shot only 3 months ago. But it's definitely Omicron, because that's what Sweden has everywhere. And our kids' entire school, not just the preschool, the entire school is shut down because of a massive outbreak. We've been getting daily texts. Our whole city sent an email to the parents, explaining the situation. They said that every verksamhet in the school, so every function or whatever, is affected, and they don't have enough healthy staff or subs or pupils to keep the school open right now. And just in line with that all happening, my kids got ragingly sick. So they are the ones that have it bad this time. My husband and I have it very mildly. We all got equally very sick the first time we had it. The second time I got super sick. My husband was not as sick as the first time, and my kids were asymptomatic. That was back in February of last year. But this year, my husband, he's had some pretty heavy lethargy for the past 5 days, and he's sneezing and has a very runny nose, but that's it. Otherwise totally fine. The only symptom I have, and I have had for the past several days, is I've lost my sense of smell mostly. I have lost my sense of taste mostly, like not all the way, but mostly. And I have had a sensation that I have a lot of fluid buildup in my ears. And like the tiniest bit of a raw throat. Kind of like that feeling you get when you have postnasal drip, you know, like back in the upper back part of your throat. Very, very mild. But otherwise, I feel totally fine. So thank God for that. But my kids have it bad. They have like just a full-on raging cold, really wet cough, red sore throat, super runny nose, tons of sneezing, tearing eyes. They have not complained of headache, but my oldest has had a 40.2 degree fever for the past couple days. We're able to get it down to like the high 38s, low 39s when we alternate acetaminophen and ibuprofen. But she has had a significant fever the past several days. But that's typical of her. She tends to get fast and furious fevers, and then the duration of her illnesses is much shorter than everyone else's. So hopefully she'll be better in the next couple days, but they've been sick for a full week. So I worried a little bit because even though I'm like more or less asymptomatic, what if it's affecting my placenta? And that's all of a sudden why my son is not so active in the womb. So that did motivate me to go in and get checked, but apparently everything is fine, and I guess we're just going to carry on. In terms of 24 and 25 week pregnancy update, I'm going off the top of my head, but 24 weeks, viability week, very exciting. It was nothing new. It was, I had exhaustion, I had a lot of fetal movement. I forget the other little things I was saying, but I do remember mentioning, like, complaining about my eyes being a problem, how like I can't wear contact lenses in this pregnancy. I feel like I get pink eye every time I wear contact lenses. I'm going to get to that in a minute because I did go to the eye doctor last week and I got a diagnosis. And then for 25 weeks pregnant, it was sort of reversed. I suddenly, like, I have the wild energy now. Finally I have energy in pregnancy. I've been able to stay up until 11:30 at night, watching The Sopranos. We're binging that, my husband and I. And, I'm still doing my 2-a-day workouts and everything. Like, I have so much energy. I don't need a nap to get through the day. I did mention that I had a lot of fetal movements, same problem with my eyes. I remember writing, like, I'm referencing the list I wrote on my Instagram. I remember writing that I sensed like I had a lot of fluid between my ears. It's kind of like when you're on a plane and you need to pop your ears, or like when you have a head cold and your ears, you can't pop them, you got to swallow, or, like plug your nose and blow out or whatever. And it gets me the worst when I'm doing cardio, and it's so annoying because my ears just keep plugging up and I can't pop them. Or I can, but like I just have to swallow and then they just plug right back up a couple seconds later. I now am attributing that probably to the infection we have in the house. But that was the thing. The thing I was most excited about in my 25-week update is the fact that I have discovered a magical combination of foods that allows me to poop every day, and it is glorious, you guys. For anyone who has dealt with pregnancy constipation and pregnancy hemorrhoids, the whole bowel movement thing sucks in pregnancy. But I have learned that if every day I eat a meal that has 200 grams of either steamed beets or broccoli, and then in addition to that, at some point in the day, have a bowl of cereal where it's a Weetabix, and I only need one of the biscuits, one Weetabix, and 10 or 11 grams of psyllium seed, it gets things moving. It's magic. Like, my backside is healing and feels so great right now, and I just couldn't be happier about that, because I was really worried that this was just going to become worse and worse and worse throughout my pregnancy, and God help me when I push this baby out. Yeah, so that's like a really pathetic but very celebratory win for 25 weeks, is I've gotten my bowels moving again, and I feel really good in that respect. 25 weeks, I also had my first midwife appointment, and then I had an eye doctor appointment. The eye doctor appointment, I went in because I feel like my vision has changed. I feel like this eye has gotten much worse than this eye. And then I've been dealing with this conjunctivitis issue with wearing contact lenses. My eyes are very light sensitive, that kind of thing. It's been 6 years since I've had an eye exam, so I was sort of due anyway. It turns out that this eye has not gotten worse. This eye has gotten better. Which she said happens when you get to be around your 40s. Your vision can actually improve before it gets much worse as you get older. So I went from a minus 2.25 to a minus 1.75 in this eye, and this eye has stayed the same at minus 2.5. So that's a fun win. So I got my prescription updated, I got some new glasses, and then I also got diagnosed with a condition called GPC, which stands for Giant Papillary Conjunctivitis, I believe. And apparently it's just this very common condition that people who have worn contact lenses for a long time can experience, where like your eyes, the texture of them starts to change in response to being I don't know. She didn't tell me this, but this is the way I envision it. It's sort of like developing calluses on your eyes because of the friction of the contact lens and stuff. And then she said in pregnancy in particular, your eyes typically get drier, and the hormones can change your eyes and your vision, and so it can just like compound matters. But this condition is actually progressive, and it can permanently damage your vision if you don't address it. So I'm so glad I went in and brought it up. Because she said on a scale of 0 to 5, where 5 is severe and 0 is perfect, I'm at a 2.5, which is not terrible, but it's not great. So I have to be using all these preservative-free drops all day long now, and I had to change my lenses from monthly to daily. And then she told me just to try not to wear my contacts much at all if I can avoid it, just to like allow my eyes to rest. So that's what I'm doing. And then let's see, what else is there to say? Oh yeah, 2 more things. Midwife appointment, and also just an update on my weight management. We'll start with the weight. It's very not much to report. I weighed in at the beginning of the year at 73.2 kilo, and I had a goal of maintaining my weight for at least the whole month to try to get my weight back into range, because I had just simply gained too much weight too soon in pregnancy. And at my 25-week weigh-in that I did, I weighed exactly 73.2 kilos. So I have maintained my weight for the past 3 weeks, which is really great. I'm still half a kilo above the highest recommended threshold for like that normal healthy weight gain. So I'm not in range yet, but I did some calculating, and I have seen that if I can maintain this general weight for 5 more weeks, then I will be right back in range of just gaining an average healthy weight gain. So I'm really, really excited about that, because the changes I made to my diet and lifestyle were very minor, and I'm still tracking macros 100%. I aim to get about 135 to 140 grams of protein every day, 65 to 70 grams of fat every day, and the rest in carbs. But it's difficult in a sense that I have days where I just want to sit down and frickin' eat, not because I'm hungry, but because I'm pregnant and food sounds really good, and that's what got me in trouble in the first place. I YOLO'd too much, so now I'm in YOLO purgatory. I'm in jail right now. I can't pass go or collect 200 until I rein it back in a little bit. So, but I'm very, very proud of myself, because it does take some discipline and effort Because again, like, you just want to taste all the foods when you're pregnant, and it gets very boring because I keep myself to a rather set diet of these safe foods that I know as long as I combine all these foods in some way during my day, I'm going to hit my calories, I'm going to hit my protein, I'm going to hit my fat and carbs, I'm going to give myself all the nutrients I need. And so I don't deviate from those foods because it just takes too much mental time to Tetris through and figure out, oh shit, okay, well, I'm like 80 grams short on protein at the end of the day. How am I going to make that up? Or I need to add more fat or more carbs or whatever. It's just too much thinking work. So I stick with my safe foods. It's boring, but it gets the job done. And so that's where I'm at right now. So we're steady as she goes. My workouts are still really good. One odd thing happened last week. I did glutes and hamstrings and I tweaked my sacrum, like in my pelvis. I just did something where I just tweaked it somehow, and it was causing me some pain for a few days. And so I decided to put on a pregnancy belt around my pelvis, mostly to just give myself a little bit more support. And I did a workout with it on, and I put it a little bit tight, like a weight belt almost. But then I went straight from my workout to going inside the house, grabbed a breakfast, sat down, and went on my morning call with my team for work that day. And I didn't loosen the belt, and so when I sat down, it got even tighter. And long story short, I actually passed out. Thank God my husband was sitting right across the table from me. He, like, ran over and got me and gently guided me to the floor. I only passed out for a few seconds, and we took the belt off, and it was because I had compressed that vein, the vena cava vein. It's not the first time it's happened, but I did bring it up to my midwife because I also almost passed out during my anatomy scan. At like the 30-minute mark, I got the same feelings of like, oh my God, I'm gonna faint just from laying on my back for too long. So she told me, since this is the second time it's happened, she says, don't worry, it's normal. Just be mindful of what you're doing, how you're compressing your midsection. But she goes, since this is the second time it's happened, just know that it very likely could continue to happen throughout your pregnancy. It could happen more or more frequently as you get bigger, so just be mindful of that. So there's that. Let's see, what else is there left to cover? Oh yeah, my midwife appointment. So we don't do the glucose gestational diabetes test in my commune. You don't do it unless you had a high BMI before pregnancy or if you have a family history. Instead, what they do is they just prick your finger and test your bloods at your appointments. So I got my blood sugar tested and it was like 4.8, which she said was good. My hemoglobin was 126. My blood pressure was 90/60. I like to record these things because you never know if things change and then you can't remember, well, what was it before, Baby's heart rate was 142. And then I finally got my numbers for the free beta HCG and the PAP-A protein. Those were the blood values they took from me when I did the combined test in the first trimester where I screened positive for Down syndrome. All this time, I thought that it was my blood values that caused me to screen positive. But it turns out they're really not bad at all. I will put the correct numbers over here, but I believe my HCG was like 70.55 and my PAP-A was like 37.5 or something. Trust these numbers here. And those were quoted in international units per liter. So when I went online to see, okay, well, what's the normal range for these? Google only wants to quote in MOM units. And I forget what it stands for. It's like median of something or something of median. I don't remember. But I found a calculator that converted them both to MOM. And again, I'll put those numbers here because I don't remember them off the top of my head. But one of them was like 1.61 and one was 1.64 or something like that. I don't remember. And then I find this graph, which shows the MOM of the HCG and the MOM of the PAP-A. And then wherever your numbers intersect is like, it tells you where your risk bubble might be. And can we just appreciate that the normal overlaps the Down syndrome trisomy 21 it's pretty substantially. Okay, so here is where my numbers put me. And again, my blood values put me right in the normal range. They also put me just barely inside the trisomy 21. So like, what the heck? How did my values double my risk and give me double the risk of what they consider low risk and cause me to screen positive for Down syndrome? It's just so unnecessary. I guess my lesson to everyone here is, if you're going to do these tests, if you can get to the NIPT, just do it, because the combined test is bogus. Let's go in and do a bump shot, shall we? Okay, we're actually in my gym because I'm gonna do some cardio right now, but 25-week baby bump. This is with clothes on. Whew, it is getting so big. I feel like I am so big. This is what it looks like from the side. I am only 25 weeks. Only 25 weeks. Okay. And when I take my clothes down, that is where he's at. I do not know what position he's laying in. Just right now, I felt a couple kicks up here, up on the top. But I don't know. I don't know what position he's currently laying in, but this is how big my belly is at 25 weeks and 3 days only. I still have 15 more weeks. Like, how big am I gonna be, you guys? Like, how big do you think this is gonna get? I don't have the linea nigra yet. I don't remember when I got that with my last 2 pregnancies, but so far I don't have that dark line that goes up and down. Yep, but that is the belly. I feel huge. Anyway, the next update I do, I'm gonna do like my final weigh-in. It's not gonna be final because I gotta continue with this thing I'm doing, but you know, we'll talk about results and stuff, I guess, whatever. And it will be 3rd trimester the next time I upload a video. How crazy is that? Anyway, that's all I got for now. So see you guys soon.